And I'd like to welcome you all to our brand new Tuesday 1:30 p.m. session. We'll be taking a look and celebrating National Book Month. And thank you so much for joining. The WildTech DC Senior iPad program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the information in the apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners, or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Thank you so much for letting me read the disclaimer. If you cannot see me, hear me, or see the screen, please let me know in the chat, and I would appreciate that. Let's make sure to keep our TVs and cell phones silenced to give ourselves and others the most immersive experience. And let's make sure to take notes and or screenshots so you can review the information for later if you would like. To keep our meetings organized and avoid speaking over each other, I just ask that you use the raise hand feature. I want everyone in Zoom to please raise their hands. You can do so by hitting more if you're at the top right, if your toolbar is there, and then you can hit raise hand. If your toolbar is at the bottom of the screen, you can tap on reactions and then tap on raise hand. Either way, during and or at the end of the session, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions this way, share comments, anything you'd like by raising your hand in Zoom. So throughout the session today, in most of our sessions, we do questions during and or at the end of the session. So again, I would like everyone in Zoom to please raise their hand. If you're here, if you're ready to learn, if you're excited for our sessions this week, if you're looking forward to learning a lot, if you're gonna have some fun today, etc. All that great stuff. I want everyone in Zoom to please raise their hand. So again, you can hit more at the top right, then raise hand, or if your toolbar is at the bottom, you can tap on reactions and then tap on raise hand, okay? Thank you. We're about 7 hands so far. Again, make sure you hit raise hand. That's the only way that you can raise your hand in Zoom, okay? Really appreciate it. We're at 10 hands. Thanks so much. Your efforts are not unnoticed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate it. And thank you all so much for participating. Again, if you ever have a question, comment, concern, etc., you raise your hand in Zoom and we will be sure to address your hand as soon as we can. Once you're called on and once we address your question, don't forget to hit lower at the bottom. That's how you lower your hand, just like in real life. You wouldn't keep it up, not forever necessarily, but just keeping that in mind. Don't forget to lower your hand. And of course, right now, don't forget to mute yourself afterwards, just so everyone's able to hear each other's questions and thoughts, okay? So we still have a couple of hands up. Make sure to look at the bottom to hit lower. That's how you lower your hand. So that way we can hear from everyone that has a question, okay? So thank you. Again, we have about 1 or 2 folks with their hand up, so don't forget to hit lower at the bottom to lower your hand. If you want to communicate non-verbally, the chat is a great way to share a greeting, ask a question, send a photo, send your congrats, share like a good morning, a good afternoon, happy Tuesday, happy, whatever day it is. Anything you'd like to share, you can do so here in the chat. You can access the chat, which I want everyone to do so. You can either access it by hitting more once again at the top right, and then you can tap on chat. Or if your toolbar is at the bottom, you can simply just tap on chat to access the meeting chat window. So again, you hit more at the top right, then chat, or you can just simply hit chat at the bottom if that's where your toolbar is, okay? So I'm gonna go to my Zoom app on my device. Okay. I'm gonna go to my Zoom and I'm going to tap on chat. Again, if your toolbar is at the top, just tap on more, then hit chat. And then you can send a message by hitting tap here to chat. And then you can type in any message. So I'm gonna write, hi, today is Internet Day. So I'm gonna look for some maybe internet emojis. There's one, but maybe some general ones like tech emojis. There you go. So here's some phones and laptops and stuff. You can have a lot of fun with the chat, with text, with emojis, one or the other or both at the same time. It's a great way to share your thoughts in, your own unique way, right? You can even send a photo in the Zoom chat if you would like by tapping on the plus sign next to tap here to chat. And then if this is your first time doing so, after hitting photo, you may see a screen. Make sure you hit allow access to all photos. So you can use whatever photo to share in the group in the chat right here. So I'm going to send some images, some from previous sessions, some of our old flyers, some images from you all, okay? Yeah, and once you select them, you can hit send like before and send those different images to the chat as well. If you would like to save an image that someone shared, you can hold any image in the chat. So this one right here, I can hold it and then hit save image if I want to save that image to my Photos app on my iPad, okay? So if you like any of these and you would like to save them, that's how you do so. You can also reply to anyone's message. So this one right here, I'm gonna hold it with my finger once again and hit reply. And then I'm gonna send this one a heart just because, okay? So that even says one reply underneath the message. I can also hold any message and send a reaction to that message by selecting an emoji here at the bottom. Or if I want to do another emoji, I can hit the three dots right here and choose any of Apple's emojis to share as a reaction. So there's one for this message right here. So yeah, that's how you send a message. That's how you share a photo. That's how you reply to someone's message. And that's you also learn how to send a reaction to other person's chats as well, okay? So again, throughout the session, please utilize the chat. I'm able to take a look at it throughout the session as you all are as well. So make sure you utilize the chat for any questions or comments, and we'll be sure to address those in the chat as well. But I see here, hello, good afternoon, yep, internet day. Happy Tuesday. And thank you, Miss Watson. Yep, your name is already in Zoom, so we can see that you sent the message. So thanks so much for sharing and practicing. So please, again, continue to utilize the chat throughout the session today. And in the chat, I'd love for you to share any responses to these questions. What is your favorite type of book? Just to get your mind, thinking about, some books you read in the past or what you may want to read in the future. So what is your favorite type of book? Fiction, nonfiction? Do you like novels or fantasy? Any thoughts on these on this question, please share in the chat. And I love to highlight them throughout the session today. So once again, in the chat, please share any responses you like to these questions right here. Today, for our agenda, we're going to cover what is National Book Month and the history of books and their evolution. We'll be learning about different types of fiction. We have done a literary genres session in the past, so I just wanted to highlight some of those things we learned as well. And we'll be learning about two apps that you can utilize. Libby, which Jordan will be talking about tomorrow at his session. So please make sure you check it out today and bring some great questions to Jordan tomorrow. And we'll be learning about Apple Books. So the Books app created from Apple as well. Last but certainly not least, we'll be reading some funny short stories together. We'll be listening and reflecting on an inspirational short story, and of course have an overview and discussion. So any questions or comments for today, we'd love to hear from as many of you today as possible. Everyone has their own unique spin and things to share, so we'd love to hear from you all, and it certainly helps out others as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I really look forward to our session today. First up, we'll learn about what is National Book Month and the history of books. I see here in the chat, mystery, fiction, biography. Yep, I like yours, Mr. Ned. That's a great answer. And I love fiction books as well. So you'll be learning all about these different kinds of books today. So first up, I have two videos for us. So we'll be learning about what is National Book Month, and we'll actually be hearing a book read out loud to us. So I hope you enjoy and learn something new. So first up, October is National Book Month. Okay, 1 second, you all. Thank you so much for your patience. Appreciate it. Give me 1 moment. Thank you. But again, please continue to share any thoughts in the chat about your favorite kinds of books or kind of things that you like to read or share. Please continue to utilize and share those in the chat. Okay, 1 moment. Yeah, fiction books. Definitely remember as a kid, love reading fiction. Definitely takes you to another world, you know? So once again, this is October is National Book Month. Hope you enjoy and learn something new.
Welcome to October 9th on the National Day calendar. This month, we celebrate National Book Month, a time to honor the incredible power of the written word and its ability to transport us to different worlds, provide knowledge, and inspire us. Books have been humanity's constant companions, from ancient scrolls to ebooks, chronicling our stories, discoveries, and imaginations. Whether it's a thrilling mystery, a heartwarming memoir, or a groundbreaking scientific text, books have the power to change our perspectives and enrich our lives. This month, make time to explore new genres, revisit old favorites, or finally tackle that growing to-be-read pile. Share your love of reading with friends, join a book club, or donate books to local libraries and schools. Let's spread the joy of reading and continue to write the ever-evolving story of human creativity and knowledge. I'm Marlo Anderson with the National Day Calendar. See you again tomorrow as we celebrate every day.
Yeah, so that is National Book Month. Another video on National Book Month is this one from the Chesapeake Lighthouse Foundation. We'll be reading a short story or listening to one called With Lots of Love. So I hope you enjoy. And any quick thoughts afterwards, we love to hear from you on the story and the previous video.
And today we're going to be reading a special book, With Lots of Love, written by Jenny Torres Sanchez and illustrated by Andre Sion. This is an amazing book. I think you all will just be entertained by because it is with lots of love. Let's start out with lots of love. Rocio had a new home, but she really missed her other home, the little house where she used to live with Abuela, Tia Rosa, and her cousins. For those that don't know, Abuela is grandmother. She missed Abuela's small grocery store, where her grandmother sold fresh fruit and vegetables, pan dulce, and ice pops made of watermelon, mango, and coconut cream. Rocio used to visit Abuela's store every day. Abuela always called out, "Hola, mi amor." Her voice sounded like a faraway flute. Sometimes Rocio closed her eyes and pretended she was back at Abuela's store. The smell of spicy peppers and burnt sugar danced in her nose, and Abuela's gentle voice played in her ear. She could hear, too, the soft rustling of piñatas that hung from the ceiling. Rocio missed those piñatas that Abuela made herself, how they swayed and whispered every time she walked into the store. And she missed the sweet treats from marmalade, sweet milk, and fruit that spilled from them at celebrations. If only she had asked Abuela to make her piñata to decorate her new room in the United States. Rocio missed many other things as well. The buñuelos drizzled with honey that Abuela made for everyone, and the extra sweet coffee that Abuela made just for her. She missed Abuela's warm tortillas and the way they smelled sweet and fresh, like the damp earth after a soft rain. Noches! Even now, she's thinking about it as she sleeps. She missed gazing at the blue-black night, sprinkled with stars, with Abuela at bedtime. Most of all, she missed Abuela. Rocio looked up at the nighttime sky from the window of her new house. It was full of stars, too. Rocio searched for the brightest star and made a wish. In the morning, Rocio woke to Mama, Papa, her brother, and her sister singing La Mañanas. Rocio smiled as they sang about the beauty of the morning she was born. Then Mama pointed into a box and said, "You got a package in the mail this morning." Rocio jumped out of bed and ran to it. "You see the package?" "I see it as well." She recognized Abuela's crooked handwriting right away. "Con mucho amor," with lots of love. Inside was a dazzling star made of bright, ruffling paper. Shiny streamers hung from its pointed tips. Rocio took it out and her eyes filled with tears. You can already tell it's a piñata. Beneath it, she noticed a smaller package, a cloth towel stitched with Rocio's name. Rocio closed her eyes and held it to her cheek. She smelled a sweet, earthy smell. Inside were tortillas perfectly shaped by Abuela's gentle hand. Then she noticed one last gift, a picture of Abuela, Tia, and her cousins holding a banner in front of Abuela's grocery store. "Feliz cumpleaños, Rocio." "Feliz cumpleaños." So happy birthday. It's her birthday. Rocio kissed the picture and thought of the star she had wished on last night. Abuela had plucked it from the sky and sent it to her. That night, the piñata hung above Rocio's bed. The picture sat on Rocio's nightstand, and Rocio blew Abuela a goodnight kiss. She watched it as it traveled out of her window, through the night sky, past so many stars, to where it landed back home on Abuela's cheek, with lots of love. With Lots of Love by Jenny Torres Sanchez. And I'm so glad I had this opportunity to sit with you and read this book, and hope you enjoyed this few minutes that we had the opportunity to share together. Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed the story. Any thoughts, any quick thoughts or reflections on the story, on the video that we just watched? You can raise your hand and we love to hear from you. Any thoughts on the short story right here? It was quite touching, so I hope you all enjoy. Okay, we'll hear from Anne and Geraldine. Thanks so much. Anne, any quick thoughts on the video so far?
Yes, Alex. I particularly, as you know, I taught pre-K and kindergarten, so I particularly like this book. But it shows how grandmothers have a big influence in the lives of their grandchildren. And they, even though you think they're not paying attention to you, they look at you as people of wisdom, and you have family stories to tell, and it brings a point that if we spend more time with our children and our grandchildren, it shows that they learn a lot from us, and especially they learn that they are loved.
Thank you so much for sharing, Anne. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to, Alex.
Hey, Geraldine,
Hey, Alex. Well, yeah, I enjoyed the story. That was real cute. Yes, cute story. But you know, the girl wished upon a star that night, and she was so sure that that the star carried her wish to the grandmother. And I thought that was really cute. And when after she got her box, but before she went to bed, she sent a kiss, I guess through a star to the grandmother, hoping that she would get it the next day. So I thought that was touching to me.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So thank you all so much. That was so fun to learn about National Book Month. I want you all to be aware that, did you all know that there is actually a National Book Foundation and awards that happen every year. So if I go to this link right here, I'm going to share it with you all in the chat as well. This is nationalbook.org. So their mission is to celebrate the best literature published in the US, expand its audience, and ensure that books have a prominent place in our culture. So I'm going to hit the share button right here and then hit copy. I'll paste it in the chat in a second. But look at what they have here. Awards and honors, they have different public programs, education and access, and their news. So they're finalists for the National Book Awards that you're able to watch as well. If you would like, but their website has a lot of great resources. So if I go to the news, so they're a National Book Award finalist. The 75th Annual National Book Awards are Wednesday, November 20th at 8 p.m. So you can register to watch at this link. You'll see the host and the musical guests there, and you can see all the different finalists in this PDF if you would like. We'll tap on it in just a second. But this website's really easy to utilize. So even if I go to the PDF link, here are the fiction finalists. So again, if you would like some inspiration for your next book, here are some great options. So for fiction, nonfiction, they have poetry category, translated literature, and young people's literature as well. So all of these great books can be a start to a brand new, love of reading. So I hope you get to utilize this resource to learn more about the National Book Foundation and to learn about their awards and to potentially watch them as well. Again, the National Book Awards will be streamed live at their website, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So you can use any method to watch those different awards. Okay. So again, I was not aware that there was a National Book Foundation and there are awards. So if you learned about the foundation and these awards, please raise your hand in Zoom. Of course, I can look up more information or, just by going on the website, timeline. Wow, 1950, January. Plans for an annual award to honor the best contributions to American life. Wow, so 1950. Look at that history. National Book Award, March 16th. First one is held in New York City. Former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt attends as a finalist for This I Remember and delivers the keynote address. And there were only 3 categories back then. But look at this picture. 1950 Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria. Wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? 1956, John F. Kennedy, Senator, delivers the keynote address. So we're just, looking at history. Isn't that amazing? Ralph Ellison, William Faulkner right here. And you can see how they kind of evolved in this, all this time, 1989, 90s, 2000s. And you can just see how amazingly they've progressed. All right. So thank you all so much. Again, I'm going to copy the link, which I already did, and paste it into the chat for you all. Again, just wanted to bring, this to your awareness, you all. I was not aware. It was really quite interesting. So thank you. Our next 2 sets of videos, we're going to learn about the history of books and its evolution. So I hope you all enjoy and share any thoughts about the videos afterwards. Okay, so first one, history of books. I hope you enjoy and learn something new.
Imagine if books were so expensive that only billionaires and elite people could afford it. It's hard to think of a world with books being so rare. But actually, books have been like that for most of its history. Books were so difficult to produce that only elite scholars could afford it. One of the major changes in the production of books was brought by a German goldsmith who invented the printing press, a machine that turned books from a luxury of the elites to a necessity of the common people. But exactly how did that happen? The writing system was developed long before books existed, even before anything like paper existed. Ancient civilizations used to write on stones, trees, metal sheets, and bones. One of the earliest portable writing mediums was the clay tablets, which became very popular in ancient Near East throughout the Bronze Age. A reed stylus was used to write on these flattened clay tablets. It could be reused by soaking in water. Sometimes the clay tablets were fried in fire, intentionally or accidentally, which made them survive much longer. The earliest paper-like writing medium was used by the ancient Egyptians. Papyrus, a thick paper-like material made from the pith of the papyrus plant. Papyrus was rolled up into a scroll, which is kind of an early form of a book. This is a section of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, written on a papyrus scroll. Scrolls were highly regarded at that time. Scrolls made of parchments were used by the Israelites. Parchment is another writing medium made from animal skin. Scrolls remained the most popular form of a book until the codex was introduced during the Roman period. A codex is the first formation that modern people recognize as a book. Stack of sheets bound together at one edge. A codex is much like the modern book. Legend has it that Julius Caesar may have been the first Roman who folded scrolls to form a codex for the first time, but it is not sure if he really was the inventor of codex. Historically, Christians were among the earliest people to make widespread use of codices. Several Christian papyrus codices date from the 2nd century. In the Western culture, codices gradually replaced scrolls during the 4th century. Although scrolls were still used, it wasn't the most widely used anymore, and it was reasonable to use a codex instead of a scroll. A codex took less space. It could be easily handled, and it was awkward to use a scroll when the reader wished to read contents from the other edge of the scroll. It was much easier to navigate any content in a codex. Modern books are not much different from codices, the only differences being the use of paper and printing press. Paper was invented more than 2000 years ago in China. Early Chinese paper was made from the bark fibers taken from the mulberry tree. The fibers were pounded and broken into small pieces. Then it was steeped in water and dried on a mat to form a sheet of paper. Later they started mixing hemp rags and fishing nets with the pulp to make higher quality paper. China kept the process a secret for a long time. But in 751 AD, the Arab Caliphate army defeated the Chinese Tang army in the Battle of Talas. Among the prisoners of the battle, there were 2 Chinese papermakers, from whom the Islamic world learned to make paper. Widespread use of paper started in the Middle East from the 8th century. Paper mills were built all over the Middle East. Islamic papers were made using leftover fibers from hemp and cloth rags. In the 13th century, paper was introduced to medieval Europe through the city of Baghdad. In the next 2 centuries, paper mills were built throughout Europe. Soon, paper started replacing other writing mediums. Remember the title of this video? It was about a German goldsmith who invented the printing press. Who is this German goldsmith, and why is the printing press so important? Before the discovery of printing machines, almost all books were copied by hand. Means a person had to copy the whole book by themselves. That's why books were comparatively rare and expensive. A professional copyist was called a scribe. Different kinds of scribes were needed to finish a single book. Normal copyists used to copy basic productions. A calligrapher was needed for fine book production. The copyist would usually leave blank places for an illuminator to paint the illustrations. Finally, a corrector would compare the copied book with the original manuscript for the final corrections. Copying a book was a really hard job, and it took a long time. In the 14th century, the rise of universities in Europe increased the demand for books. A new, faster and easier method of printing books was needed more than ever. And for the new method, we have to look at China once again. Woodblock printing is the earliest form of printing that was applied on paper. It was invented in China before 220 AD and became widely used throughout East Asia, including Korea and Japan. Initially, it was used for printing on clothes. Later in the 7th century, it started being used for printing on paper. Piece of wood was cut precisely into the shape of the characters or paintings. The woodcut was first pressed on colors and then on the paper to print the whole page at a time. This is the front piece of the earliest dated printed book known to us called the Diamond Sutra, which dates back to 868 AD. Movable type printing also started in China. In movable type, separate character blocks were placed in a frame to form the preferred composition. Both woodblock and movable type printing didn't reach Europe until the late 14th to 15th century when paper became widely available. But the real revolution of printing started in 1440 when Johannes Gutenberg, a German goldsmith, invented the printing press. This is a Gutenberg printing press. He developed movable under table that helped to speed up the printing process. A new technique of making the metal letters from hand mold was invented by him to create the type pieces used in the movable type. As a goldsmith, he used his knowledge about metals to create the letters from a lead-based alloy. It proved to be so perfect for the printing process that it is still used in modern printing presses. Water-based ink didn't stick well to metals, so he used an oil-based ink which was more durable. At first, the ink was spread on the type. Then the paper was pressed on the ink type to transfer the ink to the paper using a screw attached to a metal pallet. A small rotating handle was used to do this. Here in the sketch, you can see two men working on a printing press. One is removing the printed paper and the other is spreading ink on the metal text. This duo could print up to 3,600 pages per day, while the traditional hand print could only print 40 pages. This made printing books cheaper, easier, and faster. By the end of the 15th century, printing presses were already in use in over 200 cities in Europe and produced several million copies. Books became cheaper and widely available. It started the era of mass communication. Ideas could be circulated beyond borders, which started reforming the structure of society permanently. Book production wasn't controlled by religion or government anymore, which is known as the democratization of knowledge. This allowed the society to question the authorities. The printing press has gone through several improvements since then, but the printing method remained fundamentally the same until the 20th century. Modern-day books are printed using offset lithography. The offset printing uses cylinders instead of flat metal presses. In this method, the image information is coded on a thin aluminum plate using laser technology. The image area is then covered with ink and the non-image area with water. Oil-based ink doesn't mix with the water, so it remains in the image area. The ink is transferred to a rubber cylinder called the blanket and then onto a paper which passes through the blanket and the impression cylinder. Digital printing is also being used recently only for small book productions. The process of making books has evolved a lot with the discovery of new technologies, but the overall appearance of a book didn't change much since the codex was introduced. Well, it depends on what exactly you consider a book. Physical books can still be categorized as codices, but the electronic books, or in short, e-books, are a totally different concept. No paper or printing machine is needed to make an e-book, just a capable digital device and sometimes an internet connection. E-books can be easily distributed all over the world through the internet, and they are also cheaper. But still, many people prefer physical books. Maybe there is something special about holding a book with your hands while reading. What do you think? Are physical books better than e-books? Write down your thoughts in the comments. And if you like to discover the stories behind great inventions in history,
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed that history. I learned quite a bit. Save your thoughts. We're going to watch this other video, the evolution of the book. So maybe same information, maybe a little different. It's just great to look at different viewpoints. So I hope you enjoy the evolution of the book.
What makes a book a book? Is it just anything that stores and communicates information? Or does it have to do with paper, binding, font, ink, its weight in your hands, the smell of the pages? Is this a book? Probably not. But is this? To answer these questions, we need to go back to the start of the book as we know it and understand how these elements came together to make something more than the sum of their parts. The earliest object that we think of as a book is the codex, a stack of pages bound along one edge. But the real turning point in book history was Johannes Gutenberg's printing press in the mid-15th century. The concept of movable type had been invented much earlier in Eastern culture, but the introduction of Gutenberg's press had a profound effect. Suddenly, an elite class of monks and the ruling class no longer controlled the production of texts. Messages could spread more easily, and copies could constantly be produced, so printing houses popped up all over Europe. The product of this bibliographic boom is familiar to us in some respects, but markedly different in others. The skeleton of the book is paper, type, and cover. More than 2,000 years ago, China invented paper as a writing surface, which was itself predated by Egyptian papyrus. However, until the 16th century, Europeans mainly wrote on thin sheets of wood and durable parchment made of stretched animal skins. Eventually, the popularity of paper spread throughout Europe, replacing parchment for most printings because it was less expensive in bulk. Inks had been made by combining organic plant and animal dyes with water or wine, but since water doesn't stick to metal type, use of the printing press required a change to oil-based ink. Printers used black ink made of a mixture of lamp soot, turpentine, and walnut oil. And what about font size and type? The earliest movable type pieces consisted of reversed letters cast in relief on the ends of lead alloy stalks. They were handmade and expensive, and the designs were as different as the people who carved their molds. Standardization was not really possible until mass manufacturing and the creation of an accessible word processing system. As for style, we can thank Nicholas Jensen for developing two types of Roman font that led to thousands of others, including the familiar Times Roman. Something had to hold all this together, and until the late 15th century, covers consisted of either wood or sheets of paper pasted together. These would eventually be replaced by rope fiber millboard, originally intended for high-quality bindings in the late 17th century, but later as a less expensive option. And while today's mass-produced cover illustrations are marketing tools, the cover designs of early books were made to order. Even spines have a history. Initially, they were not considered aesthetically important, and the earliest ones were flat rather than rounded. The flat form made the books easier to read by allowing the book to rest easily on a table. But those spines were damaged easily from the stresses of normal use. A rounded form solved that issue, although new problems arose, like having the book close in on itself. But flexibility was more important, especially for the on-the-go reader. As the book evolves and we replace bound texts with flat screens and electronic ink, are these objects and files really books? Does the feel of the cover or the smell of the paper add something crucial to the experience? Or does the magic live only within the words, no matter what their presentation?
Once again, I hope you all enjoyed the video and the other video as well and learned something new about the history of books. What do you consider a book? We just learned about the spine, the cover, the actual pages, and how books came to be. Any thoughts or reactions to these videos, or maybe one new fact that you learned from these two videos? I would love to hear from you. Please raise your hand if you would like to share. Any thoughts on these two videos? I particularly, again, enjoyed learning about where things used to be written on, like they said trees, and the video said bones. That was so interesting. The reed stylus, like early forms of like pencils and pens and, writing utensils. That was so interesting to learn about. You can also share any thoughts in the comments as well, but anyone would like to share any thoughts on these videos? All right, also at the end, I'll be asking any general thoughts. So please keep these videos in mind, you all, okay? Thanks so much. Our next section for today will be covering some different types of fiction, because a lot of folks tend to really like fiction. So I'm going to highlight some different types, and we'll be talking about 2 apps real quick before our last part of our session today, Libby and Apple Books. So as you may or may not know, there are different kinds of fiction, like literary fiction, historical fiction, and science fiction. Literary fiction involves imaginary people, settings, and events. Historical fiction is still a fiction, but it centers around a plot of accurate details of the time in which it takes place. And science fiction involves things like concepts like physics, astronomy, anthropology, chemistry, astrophysics. Science fiction is a very big category of different fiction. Excuse me, thank you. So these are some different types of fiction that you can enjoy. Literary fiction, you can read The Great Gatsby, 1984, Beloved by Toni Morrison, To Kill a Mockingbird. Those are some classics. Some historical fiction, if you like that, you can read things like Gone with the Wind or Things Fall Apart. That's a really great book. Les Miserables, Pride and Prejudice. And if you're more of a science fiction fan, you can read 1984. One book or title can be more than one kind of fiction. Clockwork Orange, and or the Lord of the Rings trilogy, if you really want a challenge with those series of books. So here are some examples of some different fiction titles that you can read. You can also, if you are into horror, which shocks and frightens readers, which involve characters, settings, and plots that build suspense and cause tension for the reader. You know, it's Halloween's right around the corner, so a lot of folks are picking up on these kind of books. And there's also tragedy, which elicit feelings of sorrow, which involve characters experiencing kind of hardship that causes emotional pain. So different kinds of books for different situations and feelings, right? Some examples of some horror stories that you can read are Dracula, Frankenstein, Bird Box, and some tragedies include Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, of Mice and Men. So Shakespeare, really known for that. Other authors as well. So again, just some ideas for some books that you can read, especially if you haven't read a particular title before. And you also can think of fables, right? Things that we may have been read to or taught as kids, but still, you know, have impact today. Short fables are short stories that teaches the reader a lesson and shows a moral dilemma that is overcome. So we have everything from the tortoise and the hare, where slow and steady wins the race. So the moral or the lesson learned. The goose that laid the golden egg, too much greed will lead to great loss. The boy who cried wolf, very popular fable. A liar is never believed, even when he speaks the truth. And the ugly duckling, judge others based on external appearances. So even these have a part in our society today. So I hope you all enjoy that overview of different fiction literature and get to check them out. And you can do so by utilizing either of these apps. So the Libby app and Apple Books. So again, Jordan's gonna be talking about the Libby app tomorrow, and it should be already downloaded on your device. But we're gonna go to the App Store and still take a look at it. So let me go to the App Store on my device. And then I'm gonna hit the search button right here, the magnifying glass, and hit it once again and type in the Libby app. Again, this is already downloaded on your device. But just seeing that you could still read more about it and access it from the App Store as well. Here's Libby. And again, you can read different images, different descriptions, reviews right here, other similar apps as well. So I definitely implore you all to check it out. Okay, so you can open the app, and once you do, if you have not logged in before, it will ask for your library card information. But once you do, you'll be able to get into the app, where you can search for different titles, borrow them, read them straight from your iPad. See, For one of the books, let's go with, let's see, Dracula. Let's see if Dracula's there. So look at that, by Bram Stoker. Look at that. So they have the audio version of this book. You see the little headphone icon below the book cover. This is 19 hours. And there's also the electronic copy that you can borrow and read. So once I go to this page, I can hit borrow. And then I can borrow this for 21 days. If I'm not finished with it after 21 days, you can extend your hold on the book. But if not, it will automatically return after those 21 days. So it's literally like borrowing a book from the library, but just virtually, you know? But I think this is such a great feature. Again, it's all you need is a DC Public Library card. I can hit borrow. And look at that. I can even just open the book. And with the book, I can scroll through it like an actual book. I can even go to a specific chapter if I want to. But look at that, reading the book. Just like if I were to in person, but just on my iPad, okay? So again, with Libby, using the toolbar here at the bottom, you can search for different books and stories. And look, you can even do more things like audiobooks and magazines, other books. And there's even this cool filter right here. I can hit skip the line and I can see if a popular title has a long wait list, but that I could skip the line for that particular book. So I think that's also great. This toolbar at the bottom, again, they have different recommendations. So Monster Mash, different guides. So there's a kid's guide, a teen's guide. So the Libby app can help yourself and your friends and family and everyone in between as well. So look, a cooking title showcase, different guides, horror for beginners, breaking these fall reads, all in the family, celebrating Latin Heritage Month that just passed, nonfiction, funny fantasy, stress and anxiety books, definitely very important. You can read comics, other extras, just more resources. So this is, again, a great resource. I can hit these options. I can look at my different loans and holds and other items. So I definitely recommend you all check out the Libby app. Again, Jordan will be talking about it tomorrow at 1:30, but I'm going to copy the link and share it with you all as well. So hope you enjoy the Libby app and get to read a book. In the past, we've read some books from Libby together. So again, I hope you all get to take advantage. The other the other app that we're going to talk about today, it should be already downloaded on your device because it is one of Apple's apps. It's called the Books app. If I just type in books right here in the search bar, it appears right here at the top right-hand side, Apple Books. And then I'm going to copy the link and share it with you all as well, but you can access this on your iPad. Let me hit open. And I can see from here, my home page, I can see different options. So current bestsellers. Some books you can find for free on Apple Books, but some are paid. So like this one, Our Picks, $4.99 or less. So if you would like to purchase a book, check out Apple Books as well. But they have sales, different deals, of course. I can look through here. Coming soon, previous books. They even give you goals to read books. At the top here, I can go to my library, see what I have in my library, the bookstore. And if I hit the bookstore, top charts. So look, paid, free. So if I go to free, these are some free titles that you can read. Right here, all you have to do is hit get on the right-hand side, and then you can get and read that book. So there are many different kinds of titles, etc. So definitely check out the Apple Books app for purchasable books, but also some free books that they offer as well. Okay, so these are two apps that you can take advantage of. If you're going to take advantage of Libby and Apple Books, if you already have, if you are going to check these different apps out, please raise your hand in Zoom again, would love to see your thoughts and reactions to the different apps. Again, we have Libby and we have Apple Books. So Libby is connected with your DC Public Library card. Apple Books is just Apple's Books app where you can purchase books and also see what's new. Libby may not necessarily have every new book, so just utilizing another resource as well is very important. Okay, so thank you all. Again, I put both of these apps in the chat, so make sure you check out the information. Okay. And our last but not least for our today's session, we'll be reading some short stories together and listening to and reflecting on an inspirational short story, and of course have our overview and discussion. So first up, we're going to be reading some funny short stories together. So I'm going to share this link with you all as well, but I literally just Googled just some funny short stories and that I found. So here are some short stories that we are going to read. So I'm going to copy the link and share it with you all. But let's read some short stories together. I hope it brings a laugh. Okay, so this one is called $50 is $50. So this one says, Morris and his wife Esther went to the state fair every year. And every year Morris would say, Esther, I'd like to ride in a helicopter. Esther always replied, I know, Morris, but that helicopter ride is $50, and $50 is $50. One year, Esther and Morris went to the fair, and Morris said, Esther, I'm 85 years old. If I don't ride that helicopter, I might never get another chance. Esther replied, Morris, that helicopter is $50, and $50 is $50. The pilot overheard the couple and said, folks, I'll make you a deal. I'll take both of you for a ride. If you can stay quiet for the entire ride and not say a word, I won't charge you. But if you say one word, it's $50. Morris and Esther agreed, and up they went. The pilot did all kinds of fancy maneuvers, but not a word was heard. He did his daredevil tricks over and over again, but still not a word. When they landed, the pilot turned to Morris and said, by golly, I did everything I could to get you to yell out, but you didn't. I'm impressed. Morris replied, well, to tell you the truth, I almost said something when Esther fell out, but $50 is $50. Quite a cheeky tale. If that got a laugh out of you, if you enjoy that short story, raise your hand in Zoom. Who was expecting that ending, right? Excuse me. Another short story. Let's see right here. Just reading some. These are all fun little short stories. Okay. Let's see. Just before the funeral services, the undertaker came up to the very elderly widow and asked, how old was your husband? 98, she replied. 2 years older than me. So you're 96, the undertaker commented. She responded, hardly worth going home, is it? My goodness. Reporters interviewing a 104-year-old woman. And what do you think is the best thing about being 104? The reporter asked. She simply replied, no peer pressure. Okay. Here's a funny one. I've sure gotten old. I have outlived my feet and my teeth. I've had 2 bypass surgeries, a hip replacement, new knees, fought prostate cancer and diabetes. Can't hear anything quieter than a jet engine. Take 40 different medications that make me dizzy, winded, and subject to blackouts. Have bouts with dementia, have poor circulation, hardly feel my hands and feet anymore. Can't remember if I'm 85 or 92. Have lost all my friends, but thank God I still have my driver's license. And just definitely hope it brings a laugh out of you. It definitely did, because you never expect it, right? Here's another one. Let's see, how to stay young. I really like these. It's kind of like a story, but it's also kind of like advice as well. So here's one. Try everything twice. On one woman's tombstone, she said she wanted this epitaph. Tried everything twice, loved it both times. Keep only cheerful friends. The grouches pull you down. Keep this in mind if you're one of those grouches. Keep learning. Learn more about the computer, crafts, gardening, whatever. Never let the brain get idle. An idle mind is the devil's workshop, and the devil's name is Alzheimer's. You know, that's very true. It's a little funny, but it's very true as well. You know, definitely heard this saying before. Enjoy the simple things. And you see there's no explanation, right? Laugh often, laugh long and loud. Laugh until you gasp for breath. And if you have a friend who makes you laugh, spend lots and lots of time with him or her. Laughter is the greatest medicine, right? The tears happen. Endure, grieve, and move on. The only person who is with us our entire life is ourselves. Live while you are alive. Surround yourself with what you love, whether it's family, pets, keepsakes, music, plants, hobbies, whatever. Your home is your refuge. What do they say? It all starts at home, right? Cherish your health. If it's good, preserve it. If it's unstable, improve it. If it's beyond what you can improve, get help. Very true, right? Don't take guilt trips. Take a trip to the mall, even to the next county, to a foreign country, but not to where the guilt is. Usually the past or even the future. We're all subject to guilt trips, so that's a great reminder for us. Tell the people you love that you love them at every opportunity. I love you, my special friend. So even though this may not have been a story, it's still, you know, words and thoughts and, you know, sayings that we all should, you know, abide by, I think. So I hope you enjoyed. Last one for this section. Let's see. Why seniors still need newspapers. I was visiting my granddaughter last night when I asked if I could borrow a newspaper. This is the 21st century, she said. I don't need to waste money on newspaper. Here, use my iPad. I can tell you this, that fly never knew what hit it. Wow. Such a fitting end to our short stories. If you liked these short stories, if it got a laugh out of you, if you have a brand new saying or an outlook on life, if you enjoyed these short stories, please raise your hand in Zoom. I hope it got a laugh out of you as it did for me, and you know, you learned something new. Please keep your thoughts, of course, as well. I'm going to share this link in the chat with you all for these different list of funny short stories. Our second to last activity, or our last activity before our overview and discussion, I have this video for us. It's an inspirational short story, and it's called The Race Called Life. We'll discuss it afterwards and then have our overview and discussion. But I hope you all enjoy and learn something new.
Once upon a time, there was a young, athletic boy, hungry for success, for whom winning was everything, and success was measured just by winning. One day, the boy was preparing himself for a running competition in his small village, himself and 2 other young boys to compete. A large crowd had gathered to witness the sporting spectacle, and a wise old man, upon hearing of the little boy, had traveled far to bear witness also. The race commenced, looking like a level heat at the finishing line. But sure enough, the boy dug deep and called on his determination, strength, and power. He took the winning line and was first. The crowd was ecstatic and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man remained still and calm, expressing no sentiment. The little boy, however, felt proud and important. A second race was called, and 2 new, young, fit challengers came forward to run with the little boy. The race was started, and sure enough, the little boy came through and finished first once again. The crowd was ecstatic again and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man remained still and calm, again expressing no sentiment. The little boy, however, felt proud and important. Another race, pleaded the little boy. The wise old man stepped forward and presented the little boy with two new challengers, an elderly frail lady and a blind man. "What is this?" quizzed the little boy. "This is no race," he exclaimed. "Race," said the wise man. The race was started, and the boy was the only finisher. The other two challengers left standing at the starting line. The little boy was ecstatic. He raised his arms in delight. The crowd, however, were silent, showing no sentiment toward the little boy. "What has happened? Why not do the people join in my success?" he asked the wise old man. "Race again," replied the wise man. "This time, finish together, all three of you. Finish together," continued the wise man. The little boy thought a little, stood in the middle of the blind man and the frail old lady, and then took the two challengers by the hand. The race began, and the little boy walked slowly, ever so slowly, to the finishing line and crossed it. The crowd were ecstatic and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man smiled, gently nodding his head. The little boy felt proud and important. "Old man, I understand not. Who are the crowd cheering for? Which one of us three?" asked the little boy. The wise old man looked into the little boy's eyes, placing his hands on the boy's shoulders, and replied softly, "Little boy, for this race you have won much more than in any race you have ever ran before. And for this race, the crowd cheer not for any winner. You see, in life, in your life, what are you running for? Are you hungry for success? Is winning the only measurement for you in your life? Who are you running against? And if you always win against everybody, then soon the people will stop cheering for you. At the end of your life, if you look back, the question is, who was running next to you in this race? If they were weaker and old, did you help them to get across the line? Did you all finish together? Because that is the best race you can ever run. So run this race called life. But don't forget, it is not important if you win. It is important how you run this race. This is Dare to Do Motivation Stories. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.
If you all enjoyed that short story and, learned something new, or, it made you feel some kind of way, it definitely did for myself. If you enjoyed, learned a lesson, learned something new to share with others, please raise your hand in Zoom. If you enjoyed all of the videos today, all of the different information and links and apps and information about different literary genres, if you enjoyed today's session, please raise your hand in Zoom. And once again, we'd love to see your thoughts. And I'd also love to hear your thoughts as well, but make sure you all stay on for our poll at the end as well. So what is one new fact that you learned today? What was your favorite part of today's session? What is your favorite type of book? And how can reading books and stories improve your daily life? Or any general thoughts on today's presentation. But I saw we had about 9 or 10 hands or so. So we'll love to hear from as many of you all for today. But once again, please make sure you stay on for our poll. So I see we have 5 hands up. Again, any general thoughts or any answers to these questions on the screen. We'll love to hear from as many of you today before we end. First up is Anne. Thanks so much for joining. Any thoughts on today's session or these questions right here?
Well, I wanted to make a comment on the story.
Mhm.
It kind of is like a parable that my nana used to tell me when I was little. Um, Basically, she was always saying, "Don't always try to be the first to finish the line. Always look out for others.
Mhm.
You never know what kindness can bring you, and happiness can come to your life as well when you are kind to other people." And my favorite books are every book. Anything that I can read that I love, of course, by being a preschool teacher, I love children's books. And in fact, I'm writing one now based on a story my great granddaughter told me. And
Wow.
it's about a leaf. And
Mhm.
it's a cute little story, and hopefully it'll make it to the bookstores. But I'm basically writing it as a gift to her. Um, I just love reading, and reading improves your mind. It gives you different ideas as you see other people's perspective and
Mhm.
how life goes. And I love a good mystery.
Yes. No, I
I
love it.
love a good mystery.
I hope the information that you learned today will help you with your book, and you got this. You know.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm also writing the family history of the Des Moines, so that is very challenging.
Well, good luck with everything. I really
Okay.
appreciate you sharing today, man.
Well, thank you for presenting this today. I thought it was a good discussion
I
and
really
good of
appreciate
you.
that, Anne.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me talk.
No problem. My pleasure. Next up is Gracie. Thanks so much for coming on. Any general thoughts on anything we talked about today, or question, or any answers to these questions?
Mhm. Well, I missed the first part of it. It was a little late getting in, but what was my favorite part of today's session? The little short stories.
Mhm.
I'm an avid reader. I mean, I've read all my life. I just love to read, but
Mhm.
I like something that makes me laugh, and most of those were, it was really funny.
Uh-huh.
I was hoping you'd play the one, but talking frog, but you didn't get to that.
Oh, I know. There was so many. I read through
But
a
I
couple of
really
those.
enjoyed that. And like I
Uh-huh.
say, reading has always been a part of my life because I have read books to teach me how to teach me how to do things.
Mhm.
I've read books like when I was alone, to teach me how to live with loneliness,
Mhm.
how to
Mhm.
improve upon certain things. So
Mhm.
I've always referred to books instead of
Mhm.
people. I go get me a good book from the library and read it until I feel what I'm reading. And they are very helpful to me. Reading has always been. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Miss Gracie. I really appreciate you sharing how books have helped you out in your life.
Mhm.
I know they did the same for me, and I didn't get to mention this during the session, but please take advantage of all the free little libraries that are around DC, so
Mhm.
you can give books to others and get a new book. They're on like every other block, really, in DC. There's so many out there, so I wish I could have highlighted that more. But please search that on Google and find which ones are in your area
Mhm.
as well. But I really appreciate you sharing, Miss Gracie. Thank you so
Thank
much.
thank you.
And our last hand for now, again, please raise your hand if you'd like to share any thoughts for today's session, is from Geraldine. Thanks so much for joining as
Yeah,
always.
I'm thinking about the last story. It's
Mhm.
not whether you win or lose, it's how you finish the game. And you hear people saying that it's not whether you win or lose in something, it's what you do in between that.
Mhm.
It's how you run the race. That's more important than winning the race. So when you look back on it, what did you do to help somebody else? And that's what's
Mhm.
important as opposed to coming in first. So it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you run the race. And the other thing I want to say is that they mentioned early on in this discussion today that books change your perspective. Well, if they change your perspective, the more books you read, the more perspectives you'll have. It means that, you're intelligent, you're well-rounded, because you've read and you know some things that other people don't know, that haven't read that like you have. So a well-read person to me is an intelligent person. So I think that's what I think. So but I enjoyed the session today, and everything was good. What is my favorite type of book? I like documentaries. I like biographies.
Biographies.
I love biographies. I like to know what you did and what you did to get to where you are now. I like biographies and documentaries. I like that. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh no, I really appreciate you sharing, Ms. Geraldine. You summarized everything, so beautifully. And it's what you learn on the journey, who you're on the journey, what you learn, who you're with. Not just getting to the end. It's like, getting there, not taking any shortcuts, but just really, learning something new can be just as good or even better than having, first place or winning. And, the more that you all come on our Zoom session, same idea, the more that you learn, the more well-rounded you are, the more that you can help someone else, you can help yourself out in different situations, use everything that you've learned in your life to help you out, move on to the next day, the next week, the next year, So definitely really appreciate what you had said, Ms. Geraldine. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Awesome. I see we have some more hands. Love it. Miss Maggie, any general thoughts for today or any answers to these questions? Thank you so much for coming on.
The first question, what is one new fact that you learned today? Well, that I can borrow books from Libby. That's interesting. My favorite part of today's session was the short stories. I love them all. And I love all types of books. I read everything. Mysteries, fiction, I love it all. And how can reading improve your life? Well, I travel a lot, but now that I'm not traveling, I can still travel through books. So I love books. And I'm in 2 book clubs.
Love it.
One with my public library, and I'm in one with my church. And I'm just finished. Well, I'm reading a book now, and it's about that librarian. And it's the fight against book bannings in America. And
yes, so relevant.
Yeah, it's really an interesting book. It's political, but it's interesting. And I would like to recommend this to anybody if they're wondering about the banning of books. It's that librarian, and her name is Amanda Jones. It's a really good book. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm reading.
No, I'm so happy to hear that you're currently reading books and getting everything out of them. Just like you said, you can travel through books, because especially with fiction, it can take you to a new world, but even with history, it can take you to the past or the future or another country, another planet. So, it makes you feel like you're traveling, but you're right there at home. So
exactly.
Thank you so much, Miss Maggie, for your recommendation and for sharing your thoughts for today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for lowering your hand. Thank you for muting yourself. I really appreciate it, you all. I did see we had another hand, but you may have lowered your hand. But any other thoughts for today, please raise your hand. Anne, I see you have your hand up. Did you want to share something else, Miss Anne?
I wanted to share with you that my love of books became when my uncle was a professor at Howard with Toni Morrison, and Toni gave her and Maya Angelou came to dinner one day at my uncle's house. They were here for a convention, and Morrison, I had wrote a little short story for a class, because it was a third grader. But she told me that I had good ideas. So always encourage people if they say they want to write something, or you think you want to write something, always encourage yourself to be the best that you can. And even if you write it just for yourself, if you feel like writing down thoughts and stuff, please, please do that, because you never know what's going to come out of it. And a prime example of that is Lou Alcindor, who is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's written several books, and he met Tony too, and he's a good friend. So it was just something that he said he wanted to do, and I said, do it. So he did.
Oh my gosh. No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that piece of history, and your involvement with that. That's just amazing. And you may have helped inspire someone by that, or I know you did. So yes, encourage people to write down their thoughts. It makes you feel good when you get maybe something out of your chest or your body you want to share with the world, or just put it out there to be heard. So everything that you had just shared, I know it can help out others as well. So I really appreciate that, Anne.
I was fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time.
Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you, Alex.
And thank you all so much for coming on to our session today. I really appreciate all of the thoughts and words and comments that you all had. I love those short stories. Definitely learned something new. I hope you all had a laugh, learned about the history of our books today, learned about the National Book Foundation and the awards. We also learned about Libby and Apple Books today, and some different kinds of fiction and some book recommendations as well. So thank you all so much for joining. Make sure you stay on for our poll. But thank you so much for attending our session today. It was such a pleasure.